I'm an engineer, and I teach at a couple of universities. So my questions come from a more technical standpoint aspect. There's a lot of things that people don't realize go into the day-to-day of creating a band, creating not only the band but the tone of the band. I mean, you're a guitar player. What are you guys using on stage, and what did you guys use when you cut the record?
So I'm not sure about the record. I just tour with them.
Okay.
On stage, we got a couple Voxes. We've got a hand-wired AC15 and a hand-wired AC30 that I'm running at 15 watts. So it's pretty much just two AC15s on stage to start with. And then your SVT is a classic, or is it? I don't remember what it is.
It's the 4 Pro
4
head.
Pro. It's fucking heavy and it sounds great.
It's really heavy.
Yeah, the heavier the bass head, the better it's going to sound.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The electrical components make a big difference. People don't realize that. A lot of bands are using profilers, Kempers, and Axe effects to get their tones.
Yeah.
You guys are using actual amplifiers. Why haven't you jumped onto that bandwagon?
I don't know. It kind of.
Have you heard what they sound like?
Yeah.
My God, man.
Yeah. I mean, I did, for a while, I didn't have a bass rig at all on stage. I was running stereo through one Sansamp bass driver and then one Sansamp para driver. And the para driver was taking care of all the low end for all the sub stuff. And then the bass driver was taking all the top. And we'd run that stereo. But for all those, like, yeah, I don't know, man. There's not a lot of authenticity in them. No. And you kind of lose, like, the feeling of, it being a sound actually coming out of something.
That's right. I mean, you're pushing air,
Yeah.
Still pushing air.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, a bass is a little different. You can get away with pushing it through the PA because all you're doing is taking a direct signal and putting it in your amp, and then you're not really micing the amp most of the time. Because I'm a front of house guy most of the time, so I don't mic bass amps very often, so I just take a direct signal.
I don't trust a front of house guy who mics a bass amp.
Yeah. There's not really a reason to do
crazy.
that. But guitars are so different because there's so many harmonics and there's everything that's way more complex in the signal, and you're trying to recreate this totally random thing done by, 45-year-old caps and resistors and tubes, and you can't. It's not there yet. I don't think it's impossible. I think algorithms will get better, but I've yet to hear an emulator that sounds anywhere near.
When you get a plug-in of some sort of a piece of hardware, it never quite measures up to.
Yeah, I mean, the source signal is the most
yeah.
important thing, and that's what Kempers are taking away. They're taking away the source signal. A compressor that's a plug-in is one thing because you've got the source signal of the snare drum that you recorded sounds good. So whatever you're going to put on it, it's going to sound better. But guitar into pile of garbage, it's going to sound like pile of garbage. So that's why we use real amps, because it sounds better. It's more fun.
Yeah.
You can feel what you're doing. It's dynamic.
Okay, so with the drums and the skins on the drums, what are you playing live? What did you use in the studio? You got a difference, or are you playing the same things?
I don't really know what was used on the record.
Whatever they had laying around.
Whatever they had laying around. On live? Well,
Evans.
Oh yeah,
Evans
I couldn't remember if it was Remo or.
No, they're Evans.
But yeah, they're Evans.
Yeah.
You in the 360s or?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And when you're getting your tone for, how worried are you about how well it, either stands out against the guitars, or if the guitars are covering that up?
Well, I mean,
He's going to hit it as hard as he can anyway, so
it's going to be hit hard. So, yeah, I just kind of go for it.
Yeah. No, that's.
And let them deal with.
Yeah, let front of house make sure that Hayden's not washing everything else out.
So with that said, you said you do front of house most of the time. You were doing that on the previous tour.
I did monitors for these guys on the previous tour, and I was guitar checking because it's kind of a hybrid world now.
Right.
Budgets are smaller, and so doing that, and then at home I work for a PA company, so I fly PA and do other shit.
What do you find is your biggest challenge as you tour and you get room to room every night? What's the biggest challenge you face?
I haven't thought about that in a bit because I've been playing guitar. So when you're on the road, I feel like it's hard to. Depends on what level of rooms you're hitting. So if you're hitting lower level rooms, it's always going to be the PAs that aren't really maintained very well, and the techs that aren't paid very well. Therefore, they're not going to be very good. So you got two factors in there. It's pretty much the PA and the tech. But once you get to a certain level, everything's taken care of. The room sounds great. You walk in, it's tuned. Pretty much you just have, if you have a good band, you're going to have a good mix because you know what you're doing, and then it's fun. That's most of the time for me. Yeah.
Right, yeah. I've been, I did some front of house stuff in the past too, and I know it can be, you can get into a nightmare situation really fast if they aren't maintaining stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There's only so much you can do as a front of house guy. If you know you're good at your job, then if other factors are thrown in there to make your mix shitty, then it's just gonna suck. So it's not on you.
Yeah, cool. Well, those are things I was like to talk about, cover kind of the fun stuff, the gear tech, the talk, and there's always people out there that want to be able to mimic you guys' sound, like, oh, how did they get that sound, or what are they doing? You guys using any pedals, or are you just pretty much using the?
I use a couple, like overdrive, an EP booster and an AC booster from Exotic Effects, and then I have I think it's a Walrus Audio like fuzz pedal, and that's pretty much it. I've got a tiny little wah pedal that I use every once in a while.
When you're feeling rowdy.
Yeah. But
I just go, and I just have a SansAmp bass driver.
You just
And I swear by that thing.
I think sounds great. Sounds
I
nice.
swear by it.
If you find something you fall in love with,
Yeah.
people don't ever get rid of it.
And that's the thing with those pedals too. And I've never used any of like the rack mount stuff that SansAmp makes, but with those pedals, there's not a lot of discrepancies between, if mine craps the bed and I have to go get a new one, I have all my dials memorized, so I know almost exactly where they go. And it's not one of those things where if you move, your treble, a hair, that it's like, oh, what happened? Like, I can't figure out what's wrong. So if you know how you want it to sound and you know what road to take to get there, then it's the most reliable thing. Other than my bass, it's the most reliable piece of gear I own.
Right. And you play in pretty much the same bass every night?
Yeah. I play a 2011 American P bass.
Nice.
And I've played it ever since 2011 for every single show.
There you go.
Almost.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. It's great talking to you guys, and we can't wait to see the show later. So.
Thanks, man. Appreciate
Thanks
it.
a lot.
Yeah.
Take
Cheers.
care.
Thanks, man.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, thanks again, man. It's really, we don't get asked a lot of gear questions and stuff. So
I know. Yeah. I love the gear questions.
Yeah.
Because I teach it, and people are asking me. I have people that are following our